Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. It is February, so it is a monthly check-in day. If you are not familiar with this style of video on my channel, I do not weigh myself, although as I mentioned in my last video, I am sort of, I guess, secretly weighing myself, but I do not know the number. It is all done through an app. It's just so that I can track it, so that later on down the line, if I maybe feel comfortable with looking at that number, then I will. But for me, the scales is something that is quite toxic and it can be really demoralising and really sort of off-putting. So I ditched it quite a long time ago, and I rely solely on measurements, progress pictures, and I have a go try on clothing section where I try on pieces of clothing that I'd ideally like to fit into. So that is sort of my style of how I measure my weight loss here on my channel. It is slightly different to how a lot of other people do it, because a lot of people rely on the scales. It's just not something that works for me. So yeah, I guess I'll recap how this month has gone really. Not as good as I sort of envisaged the month panning out really. I feel like I need January to be sort of a learning phase, a phase to settle in to everything that I'm going to be doing. I had good intentions going into the month. I was really pumped for the new year and to sort of start afresh and everything else, and it just wasn't the case. Life happens, and I mentioned in my last video as well that I don't do well with sort of adapting to change, and I feel like January is a month where you just sort of all over the place really, and work has been a bit all over the place. I've had to change my days for working and things like that. So just when I felt like I was trying to figure out what my schedule was, the schedule would change. So I really just have to get better at changing and adapting to situations and things like that. So it's not gone as well as I hoped. Tracking did go really well right at the beginning of the month, but then that slowly fizzled out and I've been struggling to pick that back up. I struggle with certain things and certain habits. So for instance, if I eat something that I'm not really supposed to eat, like sometimes I can go into the kitchen and there'll be snacks in there that we have bought to have, or that Philip has bought. He has separate snacks to me that I don't really tend to touch. But there has been occasions during this month where I have had one of those snacks and I've been like, oh, well, I really shouldn't have had that. In the moment, I don't really think about it until after I've eaten it, and then I feel guilty about it. And then I sort of get into this mindset where I'm like, well, I've messed it up, so that's the whole day gone. Where it should just be, I've had that thing, I can maybe go out for a walk to mitigate what I've eaten, sort of thing. There are other sort of things that I can do to mitigate it rather than just beating myself up about it and eating more, I guess. So that's sort of one bad habit that I've got into. Running and exercise hasn't been great either. I don't really know what's going on with that. I'm still sort of in this phase where I don't really want to do much. I'm just going to have to figure that out, I guess. I have the race for Burley. I obviously cancelled Cambridge Half, as you've seen my other videos, so I'm not doing Cambridge Half anymore. But I am still scheduled to do Burley 7. So if I can get up to 10k in the next 6 weeks, which is more than doable, then that race is still fine. And I can walk that anyway, so it's not much of a problem. And I feel like at this point, if I give up on that race, then I may as well just give up completely. So I need to sort of have that in there to sort of spur me on a bit. So that is still going ahead. But yeah, overall, it's just been a really sort of rough month with me trying to figure things out. I have sort of kept note of everything that's gone on in my diary. So I know when things are good for scheduling in certain things, when days are better than others. For instance, when I do track, I know the days in my NutriCheck which are better for me. So I figured that being at work is better than being at home. I have less sort of snacks at work, but in the same instance, I seem to make worse choices at work with regards to my lunch than I do when I'm at home. So swings and roundabouts, I am still figuring that out. So yeah, I am just classing January as being sort of a figuring things out month, and I will move on from it. But it's hard to not beat myself up and then sort of eat my feelings. I am quite an emotional eater, so when things do get on top of me when I'm feeling guilty about doing certain things, I tend to resort to food, and that, yeah, it screws me over a bit. So yeah, I guess I'm not really hoping for anything in this video. I ideally would like to see a maintain of measurements and things like that, but given the month I've had, I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not, so we'll just have to see how it goes. We'll do progress shots first, we'll move on to measurements next, we'll do my goal try-on clothing at the end, and then I'll sort of come back to set some intentions for the month ahead. So let's get into it. Okay, we're going to do measurements next, courtesy of Oriole. He has my sheet of paper with last month's measurements on them. So we're going to take measurements, I'm going to speed it up, and then I'll come back to you to tell you the results. So let's get into it. Right, measurements all done. Obviously not had the best of months. I have maintained all my measurements. All measurements are the same. I'll put a little thing here somewhere where you can see my sort of spreadsheet comparison. I'm okay with that. I thought that I was going to gain in measurements in some places, but it seems that I haven't, so I'll count that as lucky, and I'm just going to move on from it. So same measurements all round. The clothing that I'm going to try on next, I'm not really expecting anything with that either, so we'll see how that goes. So that will be the next section that you're going to see, so let's move on to that. Right, okay, I'm slightly changing things up for my gold try on clothing section. Last month I had the black greyish jeans that I'm still going to try on. I'm still going to try on the blue jacket that I tried on last week, but I'm subbing the blue jeans for the dress that I mentioned last month, just because the blue jeans do fit. So I guess I'll try them on in a couple of months, because they do sort of button up now, and we'll just focus on the other items that I'm sort of wanting to get into. So I've got the black jeans here, so I'll try on those first, so let's go. Right, that is where I'm getting the ripped jeans to. Still very tight. It's really stopping here, like my crotch is a little higher up, so it's stopping here because it can't get any further on the thighs, and obviously I can't button, so that is where I'm at with those. We will move on to the jacket next, and then we'll do the dress last. So next, a little bit weird trying this on in just me undies, but right. I can still zip it up, but it is very tight. Close up of the sort of bust bit, so you can see that, but yeah, that's a bit sucky, so still nowhere with that. And then this is the dress that I mentioned in my other video. I bought it from Vinted because I had initially intended to wear it at Christmas, however it didn't fit. It is from New Look and it's a size 16, so I wouldn't say I'm too far off on this. Obviously it gives it a bit of leeway with the bottom, but it's the top half that is the sticking point with this, so I'll show you what it looks like on anyway. So I'm obviously not wearing the right bra for this, so you might see that, but it's a bit small on the bust, it's quite tight, and there's a side zip here, and I can zip it up a tiny little bit, but literally like it's got quite a lot still to go. So yeah, if I pulled it together pretty tight and I had some help, I'd probably be able to do it. But it's also got this like asymmetric hem here, and it's getting stuck on the hips where my hips are a bit too big, so it can't sort of pull down properly. I can pull it down, but it is sort of digging in at the hip here. So that is sort of how the dress fits. Hopefully it won't be too long before I can sort of get to zipping this up properly, but that is that. So we're going to move on to my intentions for the month next. Right, that is all my sort of measures of progress done. I've done my progress shots, my measurements and my goal trial clothing section. As you will have seen, there's not been much change in progress shots or my goal trial clothing section, and my measurements have stayed the same, which I am quite thankful for. In terms of my intentions for the month, I just want to track everything. I don't want to have a day where I don't track. Even if I'm off track that day, I still want to track it. And I want to be more mindful of going into like a guilty self-sabotage mode. I think that's one of the biggest things that I want to work on this month, is that if I do have something that's off track, just have that one thing off track and don't sort of let it derail the whole day. And then obviously I've got my running, which I guess I can class as my exercise sort of goal, I guess. For that, I want to find a schedule. So I'm going to have a look through my diary, find what did and didn't work for each of the weeks, because I've got sections within my diary where I've got things that did or didn't work, and I've got like a habit tracker where I track things that I've done. So I'll be able to see where things went wrong or went right. So I'm going to have a look through that throughout this month. Or throughout last month, should I say, and sort of figure out a schedule for when I can do my run days, where I struggle on most and where I can sort of learn from those things. So I'm going to have a sort of go through of that, and yeah, just generally use it as a learning month, I guess, to stop making those bad habits this month. That's generally it. I just want to focus on making sure that I track and try and make better choices, basically, both at home and at work for the different scenarios that I mentioned. Snacking less when I'm at home and making better choices for meals when I'm at work. That's generally the sort of the way that I want to move forward with that. And then, yeah, just figuring out the running, when I'm going to have a schedule, what days I'm going to run, things like that, and sort of try and stick to that, because I do obviously have the Burley 7 coming up, so I don't want to go into that untrained. I would ideally like to have 2 runs a week for now, and then if I get any more than that, then it's a bonus, so we'll just see what happens. I'm going to end the video here because I know that I've been rambling for a long time, so thank you for sticking with me. We'll see what happens this month. Yeah, that's it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You can always click the notification bell down below to be notified of when my videos go live. Other than that, hope you're all staying safe and well. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend, whenever it is that you're watching this, and I will see you again in my next video.